Well, the Steve Irwin Gala is something that we look forward to every year, and it's become such an important tradition for us. And it's a way to really keep Dad's legacy and his mission alive. I mean, he stood for so much, for wildlife conservation worldwide, of course, but also just fun and family and living every day to the fullest. And he and Mum set up charity Wildlife Warriors, which was about really unifying everyone to get involved, to make a difference. And it was work that he was incredibly passionate about. And so we host a gala to really honour him and to keep all of that important charity work going, supporting wildlife conservation and the humanitarian side of it that goes along with it, on the ground, on the front line. We've been doing this in Brisbane, in Australia, every year, and also in LA. And we decided it was finally time to come to the big, bright and beautiful Las Vegas and just turn the Steve Irwin Gala up to 11. And that's what we're doing. So it's a real honour to be here. And the philanthropic nature of Las Vegas is the perfect place to have it, I think. It's going to be amazing.
It's amazing how just our lives, I feel like we see our lives through Khaki lenses. It's just, it's so funny. I mean, for our family, it's just when we put on our uniform, it's kind of just so natural, and it feels weird whenever we wear anything else because it's a part of our DNA and who we are. And it's funny, you know, we've grown up wearing khaki. I'd say 90% of my wardrobe is khaki, which
makes it easy in the morning.
So
just
easy.
Khaki.
I will
Let's go
say
with that.
though, Robert is the fashionable Irwin. Like
What can I
Robert,
say?
Robert has taken khaki and elevated it.
And elevated. Thank you.
So I would
Thank
like
you.
to just take a moment of appreciation for Robert, because the Irwin family has never been synonymous with fashion.
I've been the first member of my family.
But he is taking it to a whole new level.
I'm proud
so
to be the first Irwin to actually
step out.
to step out and to start.
off,
you know,
buddy.
I'm branching out
Yeah.
here. I will happily, you know, get into the fashion world, which has sort of been what I've been doing recently. But still, I still wear the khakis with pride. You know, people wonder, like, oh, how much do you really actually wear khaki? But when I'm home, I mean, I'm working at Australia Zoo, when we're travelling, where, you know, we might be catching crocs or wrangling snakes, or here and we're there. And you know, you can't do that in these loafers. You got to have boots and khaki. So, you know, it's good. But yeah, when I'm in a place like this or something like the Steve Irwin Gala, I'm not afraid to dress up. But the gala's nice because I'll still have my khaki bow tie. You know, you still gotta work in that little homage. I think it's very important.
I do too. I loved your dad. He was invited one time to present an award at the BAFTAs, and he was told, you need to wear a tuxedo. And he said, well, I'll be wearing me khakis. I'll be wearing me khakis, mate. And they go, well, actually, you have to wear a tuxedo to present on stage at the BAFTAs. And he goes, oh, I'm sure you'll be all right getting somebody else to do that because I only wear khakis. So he was on stage presenting an award in khakis.
In khakis. Stick to your guns. Yeah. Dad's presence is something that is still felt every single day. And I think, Mum, you were really incredible with making sure he was still part of our lives and part of everything. Like I remember from a really young age, I would watch his documentaries. You know, we'd sit down in the morning and we'd watch Dad doing his thing on the early documentaries with him and Mum, and there's pictures of him everywhere around Australia Zoo, and so much of our lives for Bindi and I, and well, all of us, it's been captured on camera. Like, I was literally filmed being born. Sorry about that. Like, seriously. So every single moment is there, and then, you know, that really comes to the fore when you lose someone. You realise, wow, I am so grateful that I've got all of these early memories that I can, you know, go back to and revisit. You know, because that memory is very, very foggy when you're only 2 years old. And so watching those little clips or seeing a photo I haven't seen before or watching one of the old documentaries, it helps those memories to just come back. And it's a wonderful thing. You feel like you get a little a little piece of the puzzle back, a little piece of this person back, and it means a lot. So he's very much part of our lives, and even to the point where he's part of my niece's life. He's part of Grace's life.
I was gonna say,
she grows up knowing all about him too.
Now having Grace, it's really special because it's like including the next generation, and I always said I want to make sure that Grace knows Dad, her grandpa crocodile, as she calls him. And it's really special watching her just loving the documentaries. I mean, she worships. I am so grateful for Dad, because what you saw on television was really him. I mean, he was exactly the same person as our dad as he was on screen. So for Grace, she knows him through the television screen 100% exactly like
So cool.
he was in real life. So I feel like she is able to grow up knowing him. And when she starts repeating him and saying, danger, 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 or crikey, or she has a little plush crocodile that she gets out and puts satellite trackers on, and it's really cute. And then every night we have a big photo of Dad, and we do our calm down ritual. So that's our thing as a family. So me and Chandler and Grace, we go outside and we sit under the stars and we talk about what we're thankful for and what we're excited for the next day. And then we come inside and we talk about how, we love each other, and we do our story time, and then we go and say goodnight to Grandpa Crocodile, which is actually something she started. We took her to bed one night. Yeah, she did. We took her to bed one night. And she goes, good night, Grandpa Crocodile, because he's feeding a croc in that photo. And then that started becoming part of our calm down rituals. So we go through all these steps, because when you have a kid, she loves having like an organized routine.
Yes.
So she likes knowing the calm down ritual. So she just included.
Plus, I mean, you gotta have some sort of calm down ritual when you're 3 years old.
Yes.
I feel like I need a calm down ritual.
Yes.
I got so much energy.
Oh my gosh.
I need to figure that out.
Well, with Grace, it's either on or asleep. Like there is no in between. So
I wonder where she gets that.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. So we go through it, but now every night we say goodnight to Grandpa Crocodile, and then she goes to bed. Like it's the last thing she does before she goes to bed, and it's the cutest thing. And I love the fact that we are able to include him in her life. It's just really special, because I know if he was still around, what would happen. He would just
you'd never see
he
Greg.
would just take her completely.
I think he'd be very proud of you too. That was his big dream. I remember when Steve and I got married, he said, I don't think I'm gonna have children, and I want to be very open about that before we get married, because my life is just so dangerous and active, and I can't see kids fitting into that. And I said, I don't feel strongly one way or another. And then about 6 years later, he came in from the backyard, because Steve used to literally fire stare. Like, it's kind of a guy thing. Men like to fire stare.
Yeah, look at the fire and
nowadays, it might be your phone or
TV.
But he would actually go fire stare, and he came in and he goes, we have to have children. Who are we going to leave this all to? We have to have children. And I go, just because you have kids doesn't mean they're going to be interested in what you're doing. And he goes, no, we're having children, and they're going to love wildlife and conservation. And I'm like, okay, but it's going to take at least 9 months here. So, because he's such a now man.
That's so funny.
And what's wild about that is, you can be a procrastinator, but there's no word in the English language for the opposite of a procrastinator.
Yeah, what is that word?
But that was Steve, and it was every bit as annoying as a procrastinator, because he's like, right now. So, he was always right as well. So we've got these 2 beautiful kids, and traveled with them and filmed with them.
Isn't it funny how
he's so proud of you?
This stuff it's just, it's hardwired. I feel like it's just hardwired. Like for me, I would speak on behalf of you. I think it's the same for you, Bindi. It's not been a question. Like Mum particularly was very much like, do whatever you want to do. If you want to go be an astronaut, go do it 100%. But from my earliest consciousness, I've just naturally gravitated. We both have gravitated to being in the natural world and to loving and appreciating our wildlife. And I think when you grow up in a zoo, that's a big part of it. But also it's that nurturing from mum and dad, and that passion. It's just been part of the very building blocks of who we are. It's nature and nurture, it's both of those things. It's not what we do, it is who we are. And I think it's amazing. Like, when you grow up, you're living out your childhood, and it's great. But then you start to get this self-awareness, and you realize, wow, growing up the way we did was so uncommon. It was our normal, but incredibly uncommon. I mean, you wake up to the sound of tigers roaring right next to you, and then you start to realize this amazing position we are in to create positive change and to hopefully inspire people along the way. And it's been really cool to see how steadfast and stoic mum has been through all of that, to keep this entire just empire of positivity alive. And now for Bindi and I, and now Grace, the next generation, and Chandler to be, taking up that charge is just, it's just such a privilege. It really is such a privilege, and definitely in awe of what you guys set out. And it's a real honour to keep all of that going, that's for sure.
I think Steve would be so proud of you guys too, because when Steve was here, there was no such thing as social media. And now being able to use a platform to get your message out to even a wider audience, when it's such a minefield, you've handled it with such grace.
Isn't that a weird world, the whole
positivity
social media world?
No, he'd be incredibly proud.
Here's an interesting story, right? So a long time ago, decades ago, Dad really got his start. He was so incredibly well known for wrangling crocs. But the reason why he did that was because in Australia, back in the day, and even to this day, when crocs would get too close to livestock or people, they'd start eating people's cows, whatnot. People would go out and they'd unfortunately go shoot the croc. They'd go and get rid of them. And so Dad would step in and rescue the crocodile. So he'd relocate it, he'd move it, he would take it back to Australia Zoo. And that's how he got his start catching crocs, is he'd go out and rescue them and save their lives. And then that morphed into a crocodile research project that he started, that Mum and Dad were involved in with the University of Queensland, one of Australia's leading scientific institutes. And so they would go out, catch crocodiles and research them. So attach a little tracking device to them, release them straight back again, and figure out what they do and what they get up to so that we can better protect them. And this is something we've continued to this very day. And it was just last year that we were up in Northern Australia in the middle of nowhere, out there catching crocs the same way he did. And we caught this beautiful big 15-footer, big crocodile. And basically what you do is you catch him, you put the tracking device on, let him go again. But when we got this croc and we see him up close, we could see that he'd actually had a tracker before. And we thought, wow, this crocodile is in none of our records within the last 15 years. And the closer we looked and we compared with photos and footage, and we realized, hang on a minute, this is a crocodile that Dad caught 20 years ago. And he's still alive, he's still kicking, he's still doing his thing, he's still this big apex predator, the king of the river. And it was a really meaningful experience to be with this absolute modern day dinosaur that Dad first experienced. And crocs have got an amazing memory. So he would have remembered that. And now all these years later, we catch that very same croc. So we released him with an acoustic tracker so we can figure out where he goes for the next 10 years and keep all of this data going, keep all of this amazing work going that Dad started, literally with the very same animals. And that also carries across to what we do at Australia Zoo. A lot of the crocs that Dad rescued and brought back to Australia Zoo are still the ones that we get in and that we feed and that we get to be with every single day. And that for me is where I feel closest to Dad, is when I'm with the animals that he loved more than it's crocodiles. It's it's a pretty cool thing because the Crocs hit harder with Dad. You know, they'd strike out of the water with such ferocity because he was this big dominant presence, you know, and they absolutely loved it. So to get in there and have him doing that same strike, it's a really cool thing. So yeah, I reckon that's how I feel closest to Dad.
Yeah.
Would be doing that. But there are so many times in life where you do feel his presence and you do feel really close to him, you know.
Yeah.